Okay, so I'm here with Jake Wightman, who's on the move at the moment. So you've been based down in Teddington for the last few years, and you're off up to Manchester now, of all places.
So I graduated in 2016 and I moved straight to Teddington. I just knew that was where I wanted to be based, and I still would love to be based there. Like, for me, it's home. It's like where our friends are, it's where our home is. But for the remainder of my career, I've got to make some changes. And for me, the reason I moved to Teddington was to be close to my dad for coaching, and then also it was just great for the running routes and the facilities and the gym and track access, and also there was good therapy down there at that point. And then I realised now the priority changes. So for me, the therapy is the number one thing. I have to make sure that my body stays in one piece, and my physio, Alex O'Gorman, is up in Manchester at the moment. And then even if for some reason he had to move away, there's a whole array of amazing therapists up there. So I think that's got to be the priority. And for me, it's changing something. You can't do the same thing again. I think that's the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing, expecting different results. So it's sad to move, but I'm also excited for a bit of a change in scenery. So I'm still going to be coached by my dad, but I'm going to jump in with a few.
Not moving to Trevor Painter then, because you're in Keely Hodgkinson territory now, aren't you?
No, it's for me it was the training is it works for me, it gets me fit, so all I need to do is work at being able to withstand it in the current state of my age and my body. So if I can be a bit more responsive when I get small problems and a bit more proactive in preventing them, then I feel that's all I need to do. And I've been up there a few times just to see Alex for physio and then make sure that it's where I want to go, and I feel like it's got a lot of things going for it, and for me it feels like the place that will serve me well for the remainder of my career.
Okay. I think in the past your dad has done, you've spoken about this before, your dad has done marathon trips on the roads just to come for certain sessions and stuff. Would he? I presume he'll still be doing the same. Although it sounds like he never stays in the same place for too long. He's always travelling around.
Yeah,
he was at the World Under-20 Championships quite recently and stuff like that. So
I think it's going to come up in a few weeks, and then there's other people around that will be able to help me out. And it's for winter especially. There's a lot of stuff people are doing that are very similar. So if I can make the most of jumping in with other people up there, or even other people coming and doing what my dad said, then I feel like that's as good as anything for me. I had a good training group down in London. It's kind of disbanded a little bit just with the nature of people doing different things with their lives. So it's not like I'm making sure I need to find something that kind of replicates that, and mainly a group that I can enjoy my training, because there's not much pleasant stuff about winter training, so if I can find good people to share it with, then that's great. But he's my dad's biggest trip, I think, was before Worlds in 2017. We were in Paris, and he drove all the way from Sussex to Paris for a 1K time trial.
Oh, really?
He was there for a total of 15 minutes, I think.
Oh, crikey. That's dedication.
That's
dedication.
So there won't be a big deal for him coming up to Manchester now and then.
So are you moving into, is it right in the middle of Manchester, or somewhere in the greater Manchester area?
We're at the moment, we're trying to find a place ourselves, but I'm lucky that I'm staying in Poynton with New Balance, have a house with the Manchester group up there.
Oh, okay.
So I've got a room in there for the time being while I sort myself out, but we're going to go in South Manchester. So we're looking at Didsbury, which is where a lot of athletes have lived before, and there's good running from the door, but then for me it's Sports City is a massive asset to be able to go and do some of the quality stuff indoors. There's great gyms up there, very good medical. So I'm hoping it's going to be the right decision. I hope in a year's time I can look back on making this decision. I could be that was definitely the right thing to do. And I'm sure that I could still be going well staying in Teddington, but I need to make sure that
you felt you needed a change.
I need to do something different, because my body is just getting problems too often, and there's something I need to do to obviously stop that from happening. So if I didn't do anything differently, I'd regret it, I think.
How does the rest of your winter kind of sit at the moment? Would we be likely to see you back on the cross country circuit a little bit indoors? I assume you'll still go to altitude trips despite the Manchester move. You've got to go to altitude, haven't you?
Fly from a different airport.
You'll just be going from a different airport.
Yes.
So how does the winter kind of, have you sort of plotted it out a little bit, even if it's just roughly?
A lot of it is not changing too much, because the training is still worked and my routine is still worked. So I'll still go to Flagstaff before Christmas. I hope I can race some probably road stuff over cross country. Again, it's making sensible decisions with cross country. There's a few risks with my body, and it's if I have any risks now, I feel like I maybe shouldn't take them, just with how my body's react to stuff. I would love to do some more over distance road stuff. I'm going to commit, I think, to doing a full indoor season this year.
Okay.
Just because the nature of when it is and the nature of when Worlds are so late that...
Shorter distances or more 1500, 3K or?
So I want to get back to making teams at the events that I want to be doing.
Okay.
So I'd love to do more 3K over indoors, but I would love to go also for 15 and try and medal at Europeans and Worlds. So I feel like that's what I need to try and do. Just make sure that I get myself back on the track, because I feel like this past year I got to the point where I was doing everything that I needed to do. I was at the right point, and then I got stopped in my tracks, so I need to get back to it at some point. It's definitely going to be my last cycle. Like, I thought it could have been my last Olympic Games in Paris, but I think the main thing that I'm pleased with is that it's not crushed me so much that I don't carry on. I feel like I've got a new motivation to be able to do what I need to do now to make the changes that I can still keep going, hopefully, for another cycle.
Was it close to being the last straw for you this summer? You said especially the injury you got close to Paris.
It was obviously like, I can't say how disappointing it was, because I believed that I was going the right way.
In the best shape ever, over 800.
So I did a session over like 4.4s. That is by far the best I've ever done it. And, I felt like I was going to be able to go to Olympics and give the best account of myself, regardless of anything that had happened. And like, that's what's cruel, and like that's what I find that bitterly disappointing, is that like I knew I could run well, but I never got the chance to show that. And the same with 2023, I got myself to a point where I was ready almost to race, and I just wasn't able to show that. I think if I'd have been subpar, and if I'd raced badly, or if I'd have not made a team because I hadn't run well enough, I don't think I'd have carried on beyond this year. But because I've seen enough glimpses that I'm still the athlete that I believe I am, I want to make sure that I have a career where I've still got chances to show that. And I think if I had another big injury and another big setback, I don't think I can come back again, because that would almost be my body's telling me like you are, like this is it, like you're not going to get anything more out of me. Whereas I believe that if I make these changes now, that I shouldn't have made them before, but I feel like this is the right time to do it. Therefore, I can be back at where I need to be.
You've spoken before about when you won the world title, the big move you made in the run up to that championships was working on your endurance. Not to be as strong as Jakob Ingebrigtsen, but to be closer to him in that area, and then having the speed to go past him in the later. Do you have a similar or different plan for this winter, or is it purely this geographical move? Is that your big move, really, just to have this, just to get closer to your physio, as you say?
That is the main thing, was that I knew that therapy was definitely going to be something that I needed to become more a priority. So it was like, I can't fault how good Alex was the last year at when something went wrong. He'd drive down from Manchester to London the next day on like a weekend, but I felt as though I shouldn't have been that far away in the first place. Like, I need to follow where like it's best for me with that sort of support. So
you say Alex, is it Gorman? Gorman.
Yeah, so like, I've had like very, very good physios over the years, but Alex has been my physio since he used to live down near us, and then I stayed with him when he moved up, and he's been great. But it's just Is he mainly an athletics physio, or does he work for one of the football clubs up there? He works with City Group.
Okay. I thought so, with the two big football clubs up there.
Before, and then he was at athletics like back in the day. And, for me, he's been great, and it's just making sure that I can see him as much as I need to, but then also like utilise that amazing facilities they have up there as well, which I'm looking forward to. But there's some good athlete space there that provide a lot of strengths that I don't have. So there's athletes that are better over endurance stuff who are in Manchester. I hope I can link in with, and then even if there's stuff for shorter, I'm sure there's people I can find. So I don't feel as though there's that much I'm missing out on by leaving Teddington, and it's not doing too many things different, because I know that what I was doing last year was going to get me to the best shape I could be. So it's doing that again, but just making subtle little changes, and more than anything, like listening to my body a bit more. I think there's warning signs with fatigue and potentially a few little niggles that before I could have got away with it, whereas now like they seem to turn into things that put me out for like a month or so. Which I can't have that anymore.
You don't seem like you have any particular danger areas. It's just different things, isn't it?
Yeah, that's part of like I don't know whether that's better or worse, because it's not like I've got a chronic problem in one place. It's just
there's lots of runners seem to have a particular problem, but yours is just like little different things all over.
It's made, my biggest problem has been time rather than my body. It's been time. So I've always felt as though my return to run had like a point where I needed to be back racing by, and like that has to be the case because you can't keep building up for a whole year without racing. Like you're doing it to race. So this year more than any, I've got a lot of time because I'm back running now. I'm like, for the first time, like I've got no problems, which like a lot of the time when you return to run, you've still got to be cautious of stuff, whereas my hamstring injury is like fully healed.
And you had about 7 weeks off after that, haven't you? So you've been back running?
Yeah, and I went away cycling in Como just because for me it was like I needed to keep cross-training a bit at a certain point, so I had a couple of weeks off completely just to let my decompress like mentally that I wasn't at games and stuff. But to get back into cross-training, I went away with a friend who was also rehabbing from surgery, who's a keen cyclist as well, and we rode our bikes around there. So that feels like it was a nice place to start cross-training, and I obviously have to still do a little bit of it now, but it's nice being able to run completely pain-free because it's been quite a long time since I've had that.
Yeah. One last question, you must have had this 1,000 times in the past few weeks, but what did you make of the Olympic final? Cole Hocker and Jakob finishing fourth, and your Scottish pal on the podium as well.
I think to comment on Josh's to start with, like he didn't do anything wrong in the whole race. Like that was I thought he ran like an amazing race. It was just the fact that Hocker found a gap and had like a very good finish, and there's such fine margins in it. And I think it was a final that I'd always loved to have been in. And
Could you see? Did you watch? First of all, did you watch it live?
No.
You didn't watch it live. No. You didn't want to. Was that a conscious decision?
Yeah, I just didn't watch. It's bad. I didn't really watch any of the Olympics. The only one I actually saw, I think, was I saw Keely's race live. And that was it. I just thought it was tough to watch the games that I was hoping to be at.
So when you eventually watched it, could you visualise yourself? You were you thinking, I would have been there at that point, and I would have tried to get myself on his shoulder and that kind of thing?
You hope that's how you'd have been able to not even manipulate, but you'd have been there in a situation ready to do what you wanted to. Every person at race probably had that vision, so you don't know what would happen on the day, but I think it's a big testament to how deep that event is now, or that event is now, that you have 4 people there at 3:27 fighting for an Olympic title. It's like it just gets better and better. So it's like you can't come back and be any worse version of your previous self. You have to be a better version of my previous self, which if I didn't feel like I could get to that point, I'd have watched that back and I'd be like, I can't live with that anymore, whereas I believe I can still be competitive in those races. And the event is just that's exciting because it's one that everyone's watching. I think it was one of the most watched races, I hope, of the whole Olympic Games, and it was just horrible not being there, being able to mix it and see what I could have done in it.
I think you were saying earlier on it used to be 2016 it was 3:50 for the final, 3:40 in the heats.
My year is the wrong one. I feel like that would have been
now it's 3:32s in heats and stuff and semis and sub 3:30 in the final, even to be in the mix for a medal. I mean, that is crazy.
I know it's moved on mad. It's like even for Neil, for example, ran 3:30 in the final, and I think he was 10th where I was in the previous one. I was 3:34 I think in my final in Tokyo. But it's like scary how much it's moved on, but it's like exciting to be able to know that event is it's so good.
And there's so much profile on your event now. I mean, it is literally the event. It's become the event.
It's good. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. It obviously makes it very hard to make teams in Britain, and obviously then go and make have a champs where you make a final even and then medal. You're always going to have casualties now through rounds, which it's almost harder to make finals soon. But it's not by any means crushed me to know that I've never at one point thought that I couldn't have gone and been able to be competitive in those races. And the same with the 8. The 8 has moved on a fair bit, and I think it would have been a very, very hard Olympic Games running over the 8. Even look at Corben in his semi-final, and Max, for example, making a final. It's it's just when you get to a semi, you have to run so well, and even if you've ran one of the quickest in the field, there's no guarantee in that. So I'd always hoped that in the 8 my racing brain could have helped me out through to the final, but then you're still in the final where they're winning it in 1:41, so it's just a very, very hard event as well. So the 8 at 15 is not a good couple to be involved in at the moment, but
it'll be interesting to see how it pans out next year.
It's good to be part of one of the best eras of of all time for it, because if you can come away with medals and titles, then it's kind of more of a testament to how well you've gone.
No, for sure. Well, thanks very much.
No, thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.